Hi everybody. This video is going to go over the new variances for rules 33, 36, and 37. The new variance means that this is going to be the rule from May 19th forward. So any tournaments that begin on or after May 19th, 2021 will use these rules. And I suspect, and this is only my guess, that these will become the rules as of January 1, 2022. But they will start May 19th, 2021. So more specifically, we're going to be talking about yellow cards and misexecutions. Rule 33 is unsportsmanlike conduct, so that's where the yellow cards come from. And then Rule 36 and 37, those rules deal with penalty procedures. So let's just jump right in here to Rule 33. What is the new rule or the rule change or the rule update for yellow cards? Okay, so if a player demonstrates unsportsmanlike conduct after a game, he has to or she has to get a minimum of 2 yellow cards. They can also get 3 yellow cards or a red card after a game for unsportsmanlike conduct. So let's say they get 3 yellow cards after the game for unsportsmanlike conduct. They will serve 4 minutes in the penalty box at the beginning of their next game. There is no change in the rule and definition of the next game. In other words, same team, equal or higher handicap, can't be served in a subsidiary or club game, that sort of thing. It's already in the rule book. There are other videos that deal with that. So this rule just says that that's what's going to happen with yellow cards and so forth that are gotten after a game, that are received after a game. Okay, we do not add yellow cards that a player gets during a game to yellow cards that a player gets after a game. Okay, that's very important because if you add them together, it turns into a much more severe penalty, probably red card, that sort of thing. So they're separate. So for example, if a player gets 3 yellow cards during a game, he'll start his next game with a yellow card and he'll serve his time in the original game. If there's any leftover time, he'll serve that in the next game, or she will serve that in the next game. And then if that same player approaches the umpires after a game and receives another 2 or 3, let's say 3 yellow cards for unsportsmanlike conduct after the game, that 4 minutes will be served in the next game as well. And the rule says that the most severe one served first. It's just time. So you'll take the time that's left over from the during the game yellow cards, if it hasn't already been served. If there's time left over, you'll take that. And then the player will serve that at the beginning of the next game in addition to the 4 minutes for the 3 yellow cards. Or if they get 2 yellow cards after a game, it would be 2 minutes. So the most important thing to know about this rule update or change is that yellow cards received after a game are not added or combined with yellow cards received during the game. Okay, but the time will still be served in that player's next game, adhering to the rules of the next game that qualifies for service of that time. I hope that makes sense. It's a important but minor clarification, but very important. Okay, so that is the change or update, if you will, on Rule 33 on sportsmanlike conduct and yellow cards. All right, let's jump into Rule 36 and 37. They deal with penalty procedures and violations. And what we're talking about specifically today is misexecutions. So if one team is hitting a penalty shot and a player from the opposing team goes off to change horses or get a mallet or do something like that and re-enters the field before the hitting team hits, and the player that's re-entering the field is, let's just say, nowhere near the hitter. They've just entered the corner of the field. I'll put up a graphic here in a second to show you. Then that's a misexecution, and we're at the moment required to move that up, say from a penalty 4 to a penalty 3. What this new variance will do is make it so we don't have to move that penalty up from a 4 to a 3, that if the player that's gone off, say to change horses or what have you, re-enters the field and that player is more than 30 yards from the ball and is not in any way going to distract the hitter or do anything like that, then we let it go. Now, on a penalty 4 or greater, there's a possibility that that penalty shot will be defended and will be in live play. Okay? If that's the case and that player enters the field improperly, it's not a misexecution. That player will just be offsides until they comply with the offsides rule, meaning to pass one of their players that was lined up properly. So it removes the requirement for a misexecution when a player from the defending team enters the field improperly. It removes that requirement and puts it more in line with, as if the hitting team had already hit the ball. Then when that player enters the field, he or she is probably offsides and can remedy that by passing one of their players. That's all this variance does. It just removes the requirement for the umpires to call a misexecution, even if the player re-entering the field is nowhere near the ball or the hitter. It removes the requirement for the umpires to blow the whistle and move that up, because that seems to be creating an unnecessary hardship on everyone. And that's all this rule does, and feel free to read it. So let me put up a graphic. The first graphic I'm putting up is going to show you, say, the red arrow. The hitting team is hitting towards the left side of your screen, and the player is the white oval in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So the player re-entering the field is nowhere near the hitter. Okay, so whether the hitter has hit the ball or not yet, that player's fine. We don't have to worry about him. Now, if that penalty shot, say, doesn't go out or in, and it's defended, and we're in live play, then the player that's represented in the white oval, I'll circle these for you with a yellow circle. Here we go. And so now you know what we're talking about. That player would just be offsides, just as if he did that on, after the player had hit the ball, if he entered the field afterwards. So we no longer have that distinction between the hitter hitting and the player entering the field before he hits, or the player entering the field after that hitter hits. It's all just like the player entering the field after he hits. So that's a very minor but very important clarification, and that's what this new variance does. Is it makes that clarification for us. So now we have a new rule similar to the old one, but removes the requirement for a misexecution to be called in that situation. And those are your two new variances. I also would suggest reading the actual variances themselves so you're very familiar with them.